After the supposed FBI informant on Biden's crimes, Alexander Smirnov, was found to have lied to investigators and admitted in court documents that a bunch of that story about the Bidens came from Russian intelligence, you would think Republicans would say, you know what? We're going to abandon this line because it just doesn't make any sense. There's no evidence for it. But they haven't done that. They're insisting, well, that's only one part of our case. But now they are getting increasingly desperate. And this one actually borders on being offensive, particularly given Joe Biden's history with cancer in his family and the death of his son from cancer. The new one is that James Comer appeared on Fox News with Maria Bartiromo, and in trying to connect Joe Biden to corruption, says, you know, Joe Biden owned healthcare stocks and he wanted to cure cancer. That sure sounds like a get-rich-quick scheme to me. I kid you not. This is how sick and deranged these people are. Take a listen to this.
Now we have two people on record. We have Bobolinsky talking about the business model for selling the Biden brand, and now Galanis talking about the business model for selling the Biden brand. So what you have here, and you have the Politico source talking about the business model for selling the Biden brand. All three of those sources confirm that one way the Bidens were able to abstract all this money from these shady, desperate characters was they said, Joe Biden, not only do we have access to him, but he wants to be a part of this. He wants an equity stake in this, and he may even sit on the board. That's what they told CEFC with the 10% for the big guy. That's what the Politico article confirmed about the AmeriCorps Health. That was the business model. So what we've been able to do in this investigation is not only prove that the Bidens were influence peddling, we've been able to see exactly what their business model was. Not only were they saying, yeah, here's Joe Biden on the phone, here, let's have dinner with Joe Biden, but they're also saying Joe Biden wants an equity ownership, and he may even sit on the board if you pay us enough money.
Wow. And then let's not forget, during the last year of the Obama administration, Joe Biden's portfolio included healthcare and his whole thing about we want to cure cancer. Right. So there's another point here that says that
you understand what is being said here, right? Joe Biden's portfolio include healthcare stocks, and Joe kept talking about, I want to cure cancer. Clearly, Biden was trying to make a buck through the slice of his portfolio that was healthcare companies by curing cancer. He didn't genuinely want to do something on cancer, given how cancer took his own son and has touched his life in so many other ways. It's just get rich quick. And the problem with this reasoning is that you could apply this to anybody. I mean, remember that infamous video where Noam Chomsky, not known exactly for being a rapacious capitalist, Noam Chomsky was asked by a reporter, you know, you have all these criticisms of the food industry and military industrial complex and defense companies and big pharma and and you got your money in mutual funds, and the mutual funds own little slices of all of those companies you criticize. And Noam Chomsky basically said, what, you want me to keep the money under my mattress? I mean, listen, what are you talking about, right? I mean, at the end of the day, I have no direct involvement in any of that. You could apply this to me. I've been very open that I think the most logical investment strategy is not to try to pick individual stocks and beat the market. And it's none of that. It's dollar cost averaging in the lowest cost mutual funds. I own what's called a total stock market index fund. Why? Because I'm not trying to time or pick a specific industry. I'm just saying stocks tend to go up over time. I don't want to pay high fees. So my total stock market index fund, I think the fee is like 3 basis points a year. That's 0.03%. And I let it ride. Now, could someone come to me and say, David, you know, the total stock market index fund owns fossil fuel companies and it owns this, that, the other? Yes, that's true. I have no direct connection to any of those companies. I oppose their business models. As those companies go out of business, if they do, as we transition to green energy, they will be removed from the total stock market index fund. It's a really weak critique. And what Maria is doing here is even sicker by saying, his whole cancer moonshot thing was not because he genuinely wanted to cure cancer. It's because in the back of his mind, he knows that a little slice of his portfolio is in pharmaceutical companies, which at least in theory would make money from curing cancer, although there's a counterpoint. And the counterpoint that many of these Republicans often put forward is big pharma doesn't want to cure cancer because they make more money by treating it on an ongoing basis rather than curing it. So the same people arguing this also say we can't trust big pharma to even want to cure cancer because they actually make more profit by not curing it. So these people are sick. These people are disgusting. And also with regard to the Biden crime stuff, they're not going anywhere else. Here in this next clip, now that their star witness has been indicted, Comer says anything having to do with the FBI is suspicious. He no longer trusts the FBI.
You look, they've indicted, even more is coming out about the informant, what role he played for the FBI. The FBI paid him to be a spy in Russia. They indicted him because he was communicating with Russia, but that's what they paid him for over 10 years to do. So I don't know anything about Smirnov, but the circumstances around his indictment and his rearrest and the changing of the original indictment by Weiss is very concerning, because everything that I've had to do with the FBI has been very suspicious throughout this investigation. The trust level that I have with the FBI is zero, Maria. And look, we're following the money. Smirnov never was a key part of this investigation, never was a part of the investigation, not because we couldn't.
It was just
right. It was his critical witness, but now he's like a coffee boy? So here's the important thing. Comer now says he distrusts anything having to do with the FBI. It's important to remember that the FBI director, as well as the special counsel who investigated Alexander Smirnov, are Republicans. They are Republicans. They are not left-wing whatever. They are Republicans, and that's the bottom line. So they are committed to this. If we go back to the top of the show, I opened the show by telling you the focus on Biden's age and the focus on the supposed crimes of Biden are all in a framework where there are no actual Biden scandals. And the longer Biden goes without a scandal, the more incentivized these Republicans are to come up with something. And that's why they're desperately attached to this. If things were going terribly and they could say the economy's a disaster and we've suffered terrorist attacks and schools are shutting down and go, if they really had a disaster to point to, they wouldn't be messing with this stuff. They would just be telling us the truth about how bad things are in the United States. Because things are, by all accounts, pretty good, this is what they're making up. Biden's old and he committed crimes which we can't quite identify and we can't quite find witnesses to or find any evidence for. Can this win them the 2024 election? That's the question. I hope that the answer is no, because the Republican Party is made up of so many low information, deluded voters. I worry that they can actually ride this nonsense to a victory. That's where we come in by voting in November.